Say the public usually, none of this stuff usually gets put in the paper. Nobody calls us to complain.
Ready? I'd like to call to order the Lake County Zoning Board of Appeals meeting Thursday, January 5th, 2023. Would you call the roll, please?
Chris Forster.
Here.
Craig Burrell.
Here.
These mics are not.
It's supposed to be green.
It's green.
Hello.
Mine too, but it's not on.
Where's our technical guy? Where's Jonathan?
He's not here.
Oh,
How's that? Am I on now?
Hello. Right.
I'm on.
Oh, so,
Okay.
yep, there we go.
All right.
Don't need it quite so close then.
You want to start over?
Yeah, start over. You want me to start over?
Please.
Totally. Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals meeting Thursday, January 5th, 2023, 6 o'clock in the third floor boardroom. Would you call the roll, please?
Bruce Forster.
Here.
Craig Burrell.
here.
Mike Pratt is present on Zoom. Glenn Hughes.
Here.
Rex Meyer is not present. Garrett Schoenholz.
Here.
Allie Huss. Here.
Okay, the first thing on the agenda would be the approval of the previous minutes from the December 1st, 2022 meeting. And it's do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The second thing that we need to do tonight is have a motion to adjourn pursuant to the county board's approval of petitions number 22-P-1598 and 22-P-1599.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Were those the layman?
No,
No.
Crawford.
Crawford.
Crawford, rather. Okay, yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now on to old business. The first petition of the evening is petition number 22-P-1593, Lee County Zoning Office, permanent parcel number 19-22-05-400-011, formerly known as permanent parcel number 19-22-05-400-006 in Sublet Township. The Lee County Zoning Office is asking for the revocation of a special use permit pursuant to 10-2D-3 of the Lee County Code. Is petitioner here?
Do we want to put one up over there?
Mike?
There's an extra one now up front here. Courtney could sit up front.
I'll do it.
This one's
Hot.
Courtney. This one's hot, so you can either take it back there or come on up here.
Good evening. This is relating to the revocation of the SUP for the Adam turbine. We've been in talks with the state's attorney's office. The petitioners have elected to go to arbitration. You might recall that the original ordinance that the tower was permitted under had an arbitration clause, so we've elected to go to arbitration with the county on that issue. I don't believe any future date is necessary at this point pending the outcome of arbitration.
That's correct.
What action do we need to take then? Do we just continue? Well, if we're not going to be coming back, if it's going to be decided on arbitration, is there anything we need to do at this point?
At this point, we may want to continue it until such time as arbitration is resolved to put the result in front of the zoning board.
I'm amenable to that.
Okay. That being the case, I'd make that motion that we continue this until there is a decision or the arbitration is resolved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Anybody have any questions about arbitration or what's going on?
With the insurance company, the arbitration?
Nope, this would be arbitration with the county.
Okay.
Good. If there are no questions, we have a motion to continue this until the arbitration is complete. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Second petition of the evening is petition number 22-P-1594. The Lee County Zoning Office, permanent parcel number 19-22-08-200-010, formerly known as part of permanent parcel number 19-22-08-200-002 in Sublet Township. The Lee County Zoning Office is asking for a revocation of the special use permit pursuant to 10-2D-3 of the Lee County Code.
So just to give you some background context, the special use permit that was granted on this property was for the hotel conference center. At this time, my clients have no issue with the county revoking that special use for the hotel conference center. We would enter into a stipulation to that effect.
Okay,
Then I would make a motion that based on the county zoning office's request for revocation and no argument by the petitioner relative to that, that we do revoke that permit, that special use permit.
I'll second.
Garrett seconds. Is there any discussion? Being none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
The okay. So that revocation will be recommended to the county board. So the county board will have to do the final vote on that. The next petition is petition number 22-P-1603. The petitioners Mike and Mary Anderson. Parcel number 11-16-31-100-015 in Lee Center Township. Petitioners are requesting a special use for outdoor storage for campers, boats, trailers, and recreational vehicles. Is the petitioner present? Okay. Have a seat up here. And if you hang around here for just a second, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth? Yes. Okay, I need your signature. And then I need you. Sign your name, print your name, and put a date on it. Today's the 5th. And now, as you go there, over there, state your name, now that you've signed it, printed it, now state it.
Hello, my name is Mike Anderson. This is my wife Mary back there. We're asking for special use on some property that we have outside of Amboy. Back in 1961, it was granted by this zoning board to turn this into a gravel quarry. It never was turned into a gravel quarry. Back in 2003, we got it zoned to put special use for an amusement park. For many years, we ran a pumpkin patch out there and had rides, train rides and stuff. In the last few years, right before COVID hit, the business, we couldn't get any kids to work it. No one wanted to work. No one wanted to pick pumpkins, so we closed it up. I'm here tonight asking for outside storage. I believe that the community in the area really needs something like this. I got a letter from the fire department chief in town. Just in Amboy alone, we have over 100 campers, trailers, car haulers, and closed trailers. If you drive down through the alleys in town, it's very tight. So one of their concerns of the fire department is if they ever have a structural fire to try to get down through these alleys, it's very tight. There's some alleys they couldn't get down through with the fire truck. So what we're asking is we would like to put outside storage on this property, and there's storage units right beside this property. When we put in the pumpkin patch, there's buildings out there. We had electricity put in, we had a parking lot put in. So we have everything kind of laid out for what we want to do, because we have the gravel already there, the lighting, everything. We have a blacktop driveway coming in, so we got good access from the highway. I talked to the sheriff's department, and he gave a letter the last time we was in that there has not been any accidents or anything. He didn't have a problem. I got letters from the mayors, about everybody that I could think of over this. And I just think it'd be really good for the community, and I've got a lot of backing, a lot of people that said that they could use something like this. I've already got the lighting is already there. I mean, basically everything is set up to do this. And we're only wanting to portion off just part of our property. That way, it's kind of a sandy field there, so we're just wanting the field not back by the timber, not up where our house is. It's separated from our house. Between where the pumpkin patch was and our house, you have to go out on 52 and have access coming in through the Mendota Hills Campground Road to get to our house. So it's already kind of portioned off to where you can't get from one side to the other unless you go out to the highway.
And if I can interject, notification on this petition 22P1603 was sent by certified mail to all the adjacent landowners. The notice was posted at the property, and the zoning board agenda for this petition was displayed at the Lee County website. A legal notification for this petition was published in the Amboy newspaper on November 16th. The required newspaper invoice and collection of certified mailing receipts have been submitted for the record. In the Lee County Comprehensive Plan, the City of Amboy's future land use plan map generally depicts rural agricultural development south of the city's Amboy's jurisdiction. The Lee County Soil and Water Office recognized that this area was all part of a plan for a campground expansion. The land evaluation site assessment scoring resulted a total of 173 points, which is below the 225. And the Lee County Health Department had no objections to this petition as proposed, except for the potential seepage into the ground of hazardous fluids from the vehicle stored.
Any questions?
Um, yeah. Alice, can you pull up the GIS on this property?
Or Mike, can you show us on the map where your house is at or whatever?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got one here, but it's colored in and I just would like to get a
Yeah.
clearer picture. Oh, sorry about that. While she's getting her laptop to pull up GIS and be able to put that on the screen. Let's start with your last comment about you can't get from your house to this property without
There's
going
two-
out to the highway and coming
There's
through
two creeks that
Mendota
run
Hills.
through this property, and one's going north and south, and one's going east and west. So it's kind of landlocked from my other property. You have to go out onto 52 to drive from this place to my property. Now, you could make it with a four-wheeler, or you wanted to get your shoes wet, go through the creek. But as far as, access, it's kind of separated from the house.
Okay. But then you said accessing this property through Mendota Hills
No, to access this property, you come right off 52.
too?
To access my house, you have to go out on 52 down the campground road and pull into our place. There's 3 locations down that road. There's my neighbors, ours, and Mendota Hills Campground. We share the road.
Okay, so you're talking about going on the highway, getting on the campground road and then coming
get to
in
my
a
place.
driveway to your place.
Correct.
Okay, that was,
Because one of the concerns I thought was they didn't want this to be part of, our living space, so.
yeah, that was actually a concern that I had, that this function was accessory to your residential property,
No.
and that did not seem appropriate.
No.
But then you don't have ownership in the campgrounds either, do you?
No.
Okay. All right. How many, you're talking about putting campers and boats and trailers and RVs there
Correct.
on 4 acres? How many do you believe you're going to be providing for?
Woodhaven right now, behind Woodhaven is Woody's General Store and their gas station, and they've probably got, just by looking at it, I would say they've probably got 4 acres there behind that, and they're probably storing, I'm just guessing, maybe 50 campers or something. There's another one out the other edge of town. He's got a small portion, an acre or so, and he's probably got 20 or 30 campers on his. So it all depends on what size and how you place them, I would like to spread them apart where they're not so close. A lot of places will try to push these in real tight together. And by talking with the fire chief, I had mentioned to him that we'd kind of like leave plenty of fire lanes, plenty of places where they could drive through there. So I'm not planning on packing them in tight.
The colored in picture that you gave us,
Yep.
you say access driveways, is that the current configuration that you're looking at using for the campgrounds, or how, or excuse me, the story, not the campground, the storage. I'm trying to get a handle on
Okay.
how you're utilizing this space.
Where it comes off of 52, the green coming in.
Yep.
A big portion of that is already gravel parking lot. And back at the upper part of the triangle, there's a grain bin there. So a lot of that's all gravel. And coming down, that's all gravel because we used to have vendors there. So a lot of these areas, the green area is going to be access for driveways. That's when people come in and back up and park their stuff. So there will never be anything on those. The yellow part will be gravel pads. That'll be all gravel for them to park on, so then I don't have to worry about the weeds and stuff. And then they'll fall right into the gravel and they'll park where all the yellow's at, all the gravel.
Okay. The orange that you've got in there, what's,
That's approximately about the 4 acres that we're wanting to get.
oh, the orange is, the part that's in the yellow and the green is,
That's all part of the outside storage. But the green or the orange is the part that we want to get rezoned. So everything that we want to rezone, the parking lot and everything's inside of that.
oh, okay, so you are including the green or the yellow and the yellow.
Correct,
green.
everything that's around the orange
Okay.
that's in that.
So I'm assuming that the orange is basically an open field at this time?
Correct.
Do you plan on parking anything on that?
No.
No.
No, because I want to keep everything on gravel.
Okay.
So I'll maintain that. I'm probably going to put alfalfa around all that. The rest of that parcel there.
Approximately how many acres is that?
4 acres is what I want to get changed for zoning, and I'm thinking it's about 6 acres total. So there's probably going to be a couple acres left. Everything to the right of that is all timber and cricks and non-farmable stuff.
Okay, now I'm confused again. You're talking about a 6 acre parcel, but you're only talking about rezoning 4 of it. Have you got a legal description for the specific area, the 4 acres that you're looking at rezoning?
No, I do not.
Need one?
Because when I done the pumpkin patch, they didn't ask for that.
Well, this is significantly different than.
No, I understand, but we didn't know. We had talked about this, Dee and I, and we didn't want to go back into the rest of it, but we kind of wanted to use this area. I mean, if I could zone it all, that would be fine, but I didn't think I'd need it all, so I thought this would be something that, you know, I'd just get the 4 acres because I figured 4 acres would be more than enough to do what I want to do.
Okay,
If I may, though.
Yeah.
He won't be able to parcel this off when if this were to be approved, because then it would become its own parcel of land. There would be no there would be no principal use. So you couldn't have an accessory use without a principal? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. The accessory uses go to the principal zoning. So
Okay,
whatever the underlying parcel is zoned will dictate what acceptable accessory and special uses are available.
okay. So he would be able to then parcel this off.
and I'm not even looking for a formal parcel, but for at least for zoning department's area, because if we're looking at that whole area over time, or even if he sells the property, somebody could easily make the assumption that that whole space is available
I
for
agree.
usage.
I agree.
And, you know, if you're talking about 40 or 50 trailers, campers, and boats in that space right now, adding additional, and don't take offense at this, but I'm just picturing that with that many vehicles sitting that close to the highway, we're going to start looking like a junkyard, especially as I've seen many facilities like that where people end up parking them and never get back to utilizing them. You know, things start to deteriorate, and it's not the owner's responsibility to maintain, you know, that RV or that boat or, you know, that camper. So I guess one of the concerns I've got here in just from the standpoint of delineating, and I'm not saying parcel off, but at least having a delineation of what is the confined special use space, is having some sort of legal description on that. The other thing is, I'm also curious, because you've got a triangular shape, which I have a hard time seeing, again, not having the measurements in there, not seeing what the measurements are, but trying to figure out how you're going to line up or put these vehicles, for lack of a better term, I'm just kind of lumping everything together. These vehicles in that space, especially in those triangular areas, if you're talking about restricting to the gravelled area.
One of my concerns is not everybody can back up a trailer. Not everybody's running a tractor and a wagon and know all that stuff. So that's kind of why I had the buffer going around with the alfalfa in it. So if someone that didn't know how to back up, they could swing out, swing wide, pull in. I want all the tongues, you know, facing in to where they can back up and they can drive straight out. Hopefully no one has to back up. And the reason why I come up with that direction is most people can't back up to their right, but they can back up to their left because they can look over their shoulder and they can see where they're. So I made it in that direction. So then people could pull up if they didn't feel comfortable driving out in the field and pulling in, they could drive past it, look over their left shoulder and back it in. And there's the timber and creek is off to the right side. The back, I'm putting up a fence right now where there's an opening. So that whole thing is going to kind of be portioned off where someone, you know, can't leave that. They couldn't, you know, they couldn't head someplace else once they're in the property to try to move it around. So I'm just trying to keep everything in the center and make it to where people can pull in, pull out in the field, come around straight and hit everything straight. So
You're putting a fence on the back line?
yeah, it's only, it wasn't that far. I want to say it's probably like 80 foot of fence.
And that's the property line.
Correct.
Alice, can we get an enhanced picture of this property? That's as close as you can get? Oh, there we go.
So I did meet with Mike prior, and I reiterated twice with Mike to make him aware that the site area needs to be a designated area for the special use, and that if he wanted to expand beyond that designated area, he would need to come back and petition for more area. I also emphasized that if this petition were to be approved, he would need to have the designated area surveyed and subdivided from his 18.26 acres so that the special use would only be allowed on the split parcel designated for that special use.
Repeat that last portion that you indicated about separating it off.
He'll have to have the designated area surveyed off, subdivided from his 18.26 acres.
And what was the basis for that you were considering?
So that his whole 18 acres plus wouldn't be considered all special use. It would just be that designated area.
Okay.
Because it's whole 18, it comes over here.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify, which again, although I concur, he probably can't do anything beyond that driveway and the angle that you've got coming back would be difficult to, unless you started taking down trees or.
The creek's there, so the creek's there and I can only go up to the creek.
For clarity's sake, you're asking for a special use permit inside of the orange, although you're stating you are not going to utilize that in the special use capacity?
Yes and no. I plan on using it with alfalfa for my animals, but they'll be able to drive through to park on the special use that they need. I'm just giving them a buffer. So if they pull in with a trailer and they're not sure that they can back up, right, they can kind of pull out in the field and line up straight. And
So theoretically, you are petitioning that for special use, so it could be utilized in the special use capacity in the future.
no. They might be driving across it, but I'm not going to park nothing on it. It's going to be for crops. It's going to be for alfalfa. And
Well, that could be the intent now, but if,
Yeah.
if the cash flow is going good, there's still a fair amount of land. So again, it gets a little bit back to what I was talking about, you know, in future needs when you were talking about that 2 acres back behind the orange, or approximately, because you said 6 acres and you're only looking at 4. But I would concur that provides some opportunity. I don't have as, I like your idea of providing the buffer so that people can pull in if they don't think they can, back in. But I still have to consider the fact is, as Ally appears to be doing, that you could utilize that in the you could utilize it in the future. And I'm not particularly concerned about that. I would just want to have some delineation of where that property really is. And the other thing is, again, I'm having a little bit of a problem with picturing the vehicles using that gravelled area, you know, so it would help somehow for you to put together something that would show us using some sort of standard size for a boat, you know, for a RV, for that, you know, using some standard sizes, you know, maybe 25 to 35 foot in length type of situation, and X number of feet in width that you're going to allow for each space. I know that can't be exact because you don't know exactly which vehicles are coming in, but it would be nice to try and get a realistic idea of how those vehicles are going to fit in there.
pop-up campers could be 12 foot, 10, 12 foot, and I
I
can go
know.
up to 30 foot.
Yeah. And there's 35, 39 foot RVs.
And everything in the orange is going to be gravel. So you're really not going to tell the difference between the driveways. I'm going to have them marked off.
I'm sorry,
Because-
did you mean yellow?
Yes, everything in yellow, I'm sorry. Everything in yellow is gravel, and everything that I got for the access driveways, it's all going to be a gravel pad. And what I was going to do is, as we start laying them out, I would lay them out and try to make double the space for all of them. To where normally they keep them about 5 foot apart. I want them 10 foot apart at least. I want someone that, you know, if they want to pull something out or try to get something in, they're not going to ding the other person, so.
Yeah, and I understand that and I appreciate that type of, but I'm trying to get a visualization of how that's going to work and how many vehicles you're going to have in there.
I've got some pictures here if you'd like to.
Separate from the ones you've,
Correct.
okay.
I did have. Hey, Mary, do you have that other packet of pictures? These would probably. This is about 3 miles from my site. There's storage campers already. He just made a gravel pad. He's got blocks around his, but buffer zone in there where they can turn around. And most of them are on angles. They don't try to pull people into a square spot, so you're better off to put everybody on an angle to where they can back in on an angle, just kind of like parallel parking and, you know, big parking lots do, like Walmart and everything.
In this diagram, the yellow and green, how many acres is that approximately?
I would probably break that down to probably about 2.5. 2.5, maybe 3, because the parcel beside was 3 acres over here, so probably about 2.5. That would be gravelled. And a lot of that's gravelled already.
Okay. Looking at some other considerations. I assume you're not going to allow anybody to reside in those?
No. Nope.
Okay.
Mike, who's the neighbor's mini storage to the left of the picture?
That is Rich McCullough from Rockford.
Is that new?
Yes,
Where's the one you came in with?
that's the one.
Oh, okay.
I sold that property. When prices of materials doubled, I sold that property to the gentleman, and he's putting up the storage units.
There's a little shed by that grain bin. Is you planning on using that for like an office type thing for that storage stuff or?
No, I have one back farther. We've got a 24 by 20 in the back of the property that's got for an office. And per se, there's not really going to be an office out there. A lot of this stuff is going to be, we're going to set it up online where they come in online and they register everything. And
Are you going to have a locked gate then?
yes, eventually there'll be a locked gate where they can come in and out.
When you say eventually,
Once I get it built, get everything up there, I need to get the fences up around the backside first to keep anybody, you know, from coming in through the back or from the sides. They can't come through the one side because there's a creek, and in the backside, there's a timber, so I'm more concerned with, you know, with the highway, but I'd like to get everything set up and get all the gravel in and start things rolling in, and then hopefully sometime this coming year during the summer when it gets nice, putting up a fence across the front. That's, the fence across the front would be 480 feet.
okay.
How tall of a fence were you planning to
Probably
Foot in.
4 foot.
4 feet?
I want, you know, something that the wind can blow through, because I don't want any heavy winds, you know, taking tin or fence or wood fences and blowing it with all the stuff being out there.
Okay. Based on that line of questioning, what type of fence are you putting up there?
It's gonna be probably just barbed wire and, red top fence in the back and down the sides, and then probably just gonna put a chain link fence across the front.
Okay.
You know, because it'd look a little bit nicer than something with barbed wire in the top.
Well, and if you're going to have a locked gate,
Yeah.
I guess you got to have something that you can secure it to.
Yeah.
Are you are you going to have any type of commercial storage available? Somebody wants to bring in something other than an RV,
No, no. It's got to have wheels on it.
okay,
For it to come in, it's got to have wheels. They got to pull it behind something or drive it in.
okay.
So I'm not going to let someone come in and drop a container or like a lot of them are doing. No, I'm not going to allow, it has to be something that has a title.
Okay.
Because
And-
when they rent, I want a copy of the title. That way I know whose it is, where it is. And if for some reason they leave or abandon it, I have all that information.
Okay. When you're talking about vehicles and titles, what about if somebody wants to store their cars there?
As long as it's got a title, I'm hoping, not too many people want to store a car outside,
Outside.
but
Yeah, but somebody that's got one that barely runs and they just want to get rid of it or get
I'm-
it out of sight.
I'm gonna kind of be picky. I own some apartment buildings in town and right across from my shop. And I'm very picky of who I let come into my circle. So, I mean, it's no different in a car dealership. They put the brand new cars out front. So I'm gonna kind of do the same thing. The stuff that looks the best, the newest, it's gonna go out front. If it's an older one and it don't look quite as pretty, it's gonna go in the back. I'm not trying to judge with anybody because everybody's got a different value, with money and what they can afford. But if it looks like something I wouldn't want to look at, it's not coming in. There's a lot of campgrounds out there now that if you want to come into a campground, if it's 5 years or older, they won't even let you in. So, I mean, storage units are kind of going that way too, just to keep people from bringing trash and trying to drop it off someplace.
Well, that was kind of where I was getting to.
I got to look at it too, so I don't want an eyesore there also.
Well, Mike, and what you've learned talking to other people, whatnot, do you plan that most people will have these all out in the summertime, using them out of the lot, or what are you thinking?
Well, it's such a big community for campgrounds. There's Jellystone just lost their franchise this fall, and they added another 200 permanent sites. So they told everybody in the campground that had their trailer stored there, you got to find a different place. So nearby, a guy started taking them in. And there's a lot of the campers out at Woodhaven that people, might have a little pop-up or they got friends. A lot of these people that we're dealing with are from Chicago. They have no place to put them. If you drive through Woodhaven any given time, there's boats galore out there, and they bring their boats from up there and they bring them out to Woodhaven and they put them on their lot. And then on the weekends, they go to the Rock River or the Illinois River. I'm just trying to put a place to where kind of clean up the community and the campgrounds and give them a place to put it that's safe and clean and where everybody's got a place for everything.
Alice, how old is that GIS? Okay. So Mike, where are those storage buildings that you're talking about?
They're not up there yet. They'd be on the left-hand side of that picture.
That's what I thought.
Did I give you a picture of that? I believe I did. Picture number.
Mike, is the new guy going to follow the same layout that you planned on those buildings in?
Pardon
Is
me?
the new fellow going to follow the same layout on the storage building that you planned on doing?
I think he come up and talked to Dee on that. She could probably answer that better. And picture number 4 shows it in background.
Yep.
And picture number 3 from the highway shows it.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Lynn, what's your thinking on how many acres or how to draw a line for the area to zone? Mike's not here to bring that up, so.
Like I said, I don't necessarily think that it needs to, I mean, it may need to be parceled off from some aspect, but it would be nice to have at least some sort of delineated area that we're approving. And whether it requires a formal appraisal or I mean, a formal survey, or whether it, like Mike's done in this picture, 480 feet across the front, and he's got 460 going all the way back, but he's not utilizing all the way back. You know, so how far back from the highway is it? Is it, 400 or, 375 or whatever? And then again, the width across the front is 480, across the back, what's the width there? And then how much forward? It can either be formally surveyed or Mike can get out there with a tape measure and give us some sort of delineation on that area. Dee may have some other opinions, but I'm not necessarily looking for Mike to run up a lot of costs, but I think we need to define what that area is available. Having beat that up a little bit, I'm going to move on. You have a letter in here from the County Sheriff's Department from May.
Yep.
Regarding accidents in that area.
I contacted everybody that I give letters to. I recontacted them again for this zoning,
Yep.
and they told me just use the same letter. Except for the fire department. He gave me a new one, and someone else did too.
Okay. So that's why the dating on these and
Correct.
like one of them refers to storage buildings. This was when you got your original
Right. Correct.
zone. That was from when you got your original zoning. But question here relative to the accidents. That type of, with the storage building like that, I fully understand because the ingress and egress is less frequent with a storage building, relatively low activity on those. And where that would probably not be a problem with the traffic. However, we're dealing with that highway. It doesn't appear that you've got an apron or anything when you're dealing with something like a 30-foot or a 35-foot RV or, an SUV with a 20-foot boat behind it, slowing down midpoint there on the highway. Do you not have some concerns about?
No. And the reason why I say that is one of the accesses to Woodhaven is less than 80 foot from where my access is. And if you're out there on any given weekend, that just nonstop traffic, people going to Woodhaven. When they pull into my place, they're not going to hit a gate for at least 80 foot. So I'm
Okay.
not going to back people out onto the highway and let them get out of the car and unhook it or swipe a card or whatever we do. They're going to be able to get in and have access, so they're not going to be backed up. During the summer, 52 is just busy with all the campers.
What is this?
That's
Oh, yeah.
that's my concern.
What I'm doing is, most people, a storage unit, they go to them 5 or 6 times a year.
Mhm.
Boats, they use them 5 or 6 times a year. Their camper, they're looking for a place to store it. They don't go camping every weekend. Life's too busy. So maybe 5 or 6 times at the most, they're gonna come out and get this stuff. This is gonna be almost identical to storage units. It's just bigger stuff and it's sitting outside. I
Well,
think-
but a little bit, the bigger stuff was kind of my
Correct.
point here.
And I've got a commercial driveway coming in and it's all blacktopped. So they have slight turning lanes when they pull out and in that makes it extra wide. And the
Okay,
state-
so you are putting a commercial.
The state already, the driveway's already there.
Okay,
So I think that was picture,
Number 2?
yep.
okay, so that is, and you've got a temporary gate there right now, so. And where is that gate, how far in is that gate that you're showing, that temporary gate?
That gate's like from the edge of the road, it's in like 55 or 60 foot.
Okay, so that's already, at that point, you're already in
Yep.
55 to 60,
Right.
so you're maybe putting something in a little bit closer. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm
a
gonna
little
go,
bit
I'm gonna
farther.
go way in.
Yeah, a little
where
farther
they've got
from the-
plenty of room
Okay,
and it's gonna be wide enough to where if someone pulled in and they didn't recognize someone was in there, they can pull up beside them, you know? So I'm not gonna keep it narrow, because like I said, this is all gravel that was part of the existing pumpkin patch, so
What's
okay,
the speed limit in that area?
55.
55.
Is there any warning signs for slowing down for?
There's
campers?
warnings,
Woodhaven?
both way for Woodhaven and for Crossroads. Coming up to a T intersection from, you know,
Was this driveway put in consultation with the state of, with the IDOT?
I put that in back in 2003.
Or was it done in consultation with IDOT or? just-
I put in, and then they come around last year when they redone the road and they resurfaced it because it was gravel.
Okay,
So IDOT come in and they done everything and they made it to the specs and took it into the property line, how far it had to come off the road.
great, great. Thank you. Appreciate that. That's a good piece to know.
Dee, did you have a comment?
I have a couple questions. Will there be electricity at the site?
Yes, there is
Site meaning
electricity
that
now.
4-acre designation.
There won't be electricity for the people that's renting, but there's electricity for me for lights and cameras.
Which brings me to what type of security will there be? Video cameras?
I'm gonna put
alarm
video
systems?
cameras.
You are going to have video
Yep.
cameras?
And what we're gonna do is, we're gonna put it on an app where everybody that has something in there, they can go to their app, and they can look 24 hours a day and see what's going on in the parking lot. I have 2 light poles up there now, and they're both facing downwards, not towards the highway that we
Okay.
had for the pumpkin patch.
Or at any other adjacent properties,
Nope. they
strictly
just-
to that site?
My property, they both are spaced out and they both come inwards.
What type, if any, outdoor lighting are you considering?
Yes, they're already up. There's 2 overhead lights that are up in poles.
And are they shielded and downcast?
Yes,
Will there be water supply to the site?
no,
How about glare or heat? Will there be any glare or heat that would adversely affect adjoining lots or properties or the roadway from that site?
no.
Do you see any particular identifiable fire or explosion hazards associated with the storage of vehicles with the operation of this project that would affect adjoining lots or properties or roadways?
No.
I'm going to butt in on that one. There was some concern from the county relative to possible leakage of seepage of hazardous substances, whether it's oil or gas or whatever.
Mhm.
What type of restrictions or what type of
I'm just.
criteria you're putting in there to
I'm basically gonna
minimize
do
that?
what I do with my farm equipment. I'm gonna walk by every periodically and see if anything's dripping, and if it is, I'm gonna, you know, if, I'm not gonna let people tow stuff in that's not running, you know? So it's not gonna be a catch-all for a project that might happen 10 years from now. They're gonna have to drive it in I live there. I'm going to watch the property, and as I maintain it and I mow around it, I will keep an eye on anything that I see leaking or smelling or,
You're a mechanic by trade.
correct. I own Anderson Service in Amboy.
And
And
you won't-
I take care of all the property myself, so I do all the mowing, all the snow removal. All the
And you won't
maintenance.
bring any of your business vehicles from your business side
No.
out there?
No,
Sorry for that interruption.
Do you plan on having a dumpster for waste material near the site, on the site?
no. And the reason why is I feel that when you put a dumpster, people, it gives them a reason to come and try to get rid of their garbage. And I pay for 2 dumpster fees in town as it is, so I don't want to pay for another one and give them a reason to dump things off.
My question on that was the anticipation of hazardous materials and what mitigation plan you had for that, but you said that. How about policies? Are you going to have policies posted at the site?
When they fill out their application, I'll give them the policies, and then there'll be something posted, the do's and don'ts and everything right at the gate when they come in.
Such as no flammable or hazardous materials stored in the vehicles?
Flammable, all of them's gonna have gas in them. So I can't really say you can't have flammables, you know, it's like a storage unit. Most of the cars that get stored around here go in a storage unit and they all got gas in them. They all got oil in them. So I'm not sure what you want me to say for that.
Will all the vehicles be required to be winterized prior to the storage, such as shutting down appliances, emptying the vehicle's tanks, water lines, and switching off all electric?
They will have their own responsibility of taking care of their own vehicles and winterizing them. And I'm not gonna supply any electricity for battery chargers or Trinkle chargers or any of that. And I'm not gonna put in a dump station where they can dump their trailers, or I'm not putting in a car wash where they can wash them after they're done with the boats, and they can do all that stuff in town at the car wash.
What about the hours? Will there be outdoor storage hours displayed near the entrance of the storage area?
Most places, and my wife and I has been discussing this, most places are sun up to sundown, and then they don't want people in there at night. And I would imagine that's something what we're gonna do. But if we do a keypad going through, it's kind of hard to, you know, I'm not sure, I guess, my answer. We're gonna try to keep people out of there when it's dark.
Okay.
So if that means to shut the keypads off at night, I know other places I talked to, they said what they do is they've got a buffer area to where if someone wants to pick it up at 4 o'clock in the morning, they will pay an extra fee to the owner to pull it out and leave it in this buffer area. And then they can come in at 4 o'clock and pick it up. Or if they bring it in after hours, so it's kind of 6 one, half dozen the other. I really don't want people in there at dark, and I don't want to be moving people's trailers. So more than likely, we're probably just going to close it at dark and open it up when the sun comes up.
What's your landscaping or screening plan for outside the proposed area? Are you planning on adding additional planting or screening along 52 or the property lines?
No, I just cut everything down. Got rid of a bunch of trees.
Will you allow large tarps or covers to be used during storage of the campers, boats, trailers, or recreational vehicles?
Usually no. And what I was going to do was, we're not going to allow tarps, but if it's a manufactured cover, yes, you can. So they can't take any blue tarp and just throw over it. But if it's a manufactured, pre-made, yes.
I think that's all I have.
Any more questions?
Of the neighboring property owners that you sent notice to, did anyone not respond with a letter of support?
No, I think these got them all. I think they all,
Yeah, okay.
no one protested it.
And we don't have anybody out here that's protesting.
And I don't see anybody on Zoom either.
No.
Other than Mike.
So. Are we ready to start looking at statements of fact?
I actually was going to just address that. I'm not sure I'm quite ready to, I'm prepared to look at statement of facts or possibly recommendations or restrictions. I'd like to be able to think about that or review the information that we've had. And I guess I'm kind of looking to see if we can't continue this to a subsequent meeting. I'm assuming you're not going to be doing much in the next month.
Actually, I've turned people down for 2 months. Well, the problem is no one has any place to store this stuff. And Jellystone, like I said, they turn around and told everybody to get their stuff out, so. That's why everybody's parking these trailers every place else. And that, as far as I know, I think I'm the only one that's come for zoning for an outside storage.
So that would mean that you are looking to open business immediately prior to the gate and fence being installed on the
Well, the
property.
fence I probably wouldn't be able to do until the frost is out of the ground, and it'd be next summer, but I would put a gate up. Actually, there is a gate, I would just have to move it down.
And what, right now, trying to do it now, instead of putting a keypad on it, you'd chain and lock and have to be there when they came in and
In the
out.
morning, I'd unlock it, and at night, I'd lock it back up.
I guess my concern is I had enough questions about how you were going to handle this, how things were going to be set up, that I'm not sure I'm prepared to turn around and kick out statement of facts right now. And then I still have the question of the size or the parameters of the facility that we're approving. Although I could probably put that in a recommendation or something like that.
I think that's what they done when we done the pumpkin patch.
But
I mean, would it matter to you guys if I went all the way back to the fence and just say, I'm gonna use the whole thing? Or would you rather keep it to the bare minimum of what I think I'm gonna use?
well, from my standpoint, it just gets down to, having an understanding of how many vehicles you're going to, not only the size, but, how many vehicles you're going to be able to put into that facility, or at least what you're looking at putting in there right now. And if you want the whole 6, then that's what we have to consider, but it also, but it's still going to we're going to have to still look at or figure out, if there's any need for putting restrictions on the numbers that you've got in there, or you've given us some pretty clear delineation of how you want to set it up. So, I mean, that's really on the favorable side, and not having a picture and not being able to visualize it isn't a total issue right now, but it is still a consideration of, how many vehicles you're going to have put in there, how you're getting ingress and egress. But your explanations tonight have been pretty clear in terms of your intent for the spacing and those types of things, which were, from my standpoint, some of the concerns.
Which is part of the testimony.
Yeah, well, and that's what
Right.
I said. So,
But I have a quick question for D. This whole parcel that he has marked out, he says it's 6 acres. Does his zoning application say 4 acres?
The zoning application is for the parcel, which is
It's for
18.
that whole parcel.
no, it's
For the-
for
for the 18 point whatever. That's.
All the
petition
more,
is
all the
for
more reason we
whole
need to
parcel.
get some sort of delineation.
Correct.
Well, when Dee and I talked at first, she kind of mentioned to me that only zone what you think you're gonna need. And that's why we stopped, because I thought if I'd leave that in alfalfa back there, I'd get a crop off of it and it'd still give them a place to go out and turn around. So that's why, I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't go with the 6 acres.
I fully understand what you're doing, and I think, you know, thinking ahead and, and thinking about those that are not so good at backing up and that type of thing is appropriate. Again, it's, right now, it's getting more into the special use as it really sits, really includes all of the 18 acres. Now, obviously, because of the woods and the creek and stuff, it would be difficult to utilize.
Well, Dee said that that's the only way I could come in front of the zoning is to take the whole property and then get the special use just for what I needed
Yeah.
changed.
And that's, and I guess a little bit different, you know, maybe I'm taking a different approach to it than Dee, but I'd like to have some sort of, again, using the term delineation of that portion that you're really looking for special use. I'm not asking for you to have it surveyed off, or, you know, separated as a separate parcel from, but I do want to know what the meets and bounds of that, or at least some sort of measure of what that 4 or 6 acres, you know, happens to be. So
Will he be fencing off that portion of the 18 acres?
ask him.
Will you be putting a fence
I-
in between?
If I did, it'd be in the middle of a creek. So,
That's a delineation halfway on one side of the creek and halfway on the other, you know?
because everything to the right is a creek, then everything to the back runs across as a creek. So I wasn't even planning on putting a fence over there, so.
And quite honestly, I'm not asking you to based on the,
Yeah.
based on the layout of the property, but I'd like to put some sort of,
Size delineation.
yeah, size delineation to that parcel that you want rezoned. And that's why I'm saying I'm not prepared, based on all the information you've given us tonight. I'm still digesting it. I'm trying to figure if there's any other recommendations needed. And, you know, even if you don't go out and do the survey work right now, I'd still like to at least maybe come up with some recommendation of how we limit, or how you might delineate that property. So that's why I'm concerned about trying to go to the finding of facts.
Am I gonna be able to use that property that I want to keep for the alfalfa to be able to turn around, or you guys want me to put a fence up between that?
No, I would say you can use it to turn around.
Okay,
What he and I were talking about is, you say this is 4 acres ending up with about where the orange is. And then the other part is not part of the program, that's your alfalfa field. But if you say you want to put that whole thing in the whole 6 acres in the special use, then yeah, you can turn around it. It's not a problem.
well then,
It's your alfalfa they're driving over.
well, kind of like the front, you know, the frontage there wasn't, you know, that would all be grass area too, you know?
Right.
So is that something that we could just go with the 6 acres and take that whole parcel back to where it goes from timber to property line? And we could resolve this tonight?
It still doesn't give us a delineation of the size of, well, I suppose we could do something about describing the
So previously, this board had done a special use for auto body repair. And the parcel size was maybe 10 acres. The proposed auto body area would have been about 2 acres. So they petitioned on the whole parcel. And this board said, we're going to say these 2 areas, 2-acre area, it'll encompass the buildings. And that was, I was told by our state's attorney that that's not enforceable because there's no legal description.
That's,
So I understand like wanting to define that area, but we wouldn't be able to do that without having a legal survey done, is what was relayed to me previously.
Well, and yeah, I would concur with you, you know, in terms of being, and I remember which one you're talking about, you know, and that is a little vague, and we were, in that case, we were making the trying to limit it to that 2 acres.
Right.
But again, we ran into that problem without having that 2 acres.
Surveyed off.
Surveyed
defined.
off and legally defined. So that's.
Now we can put that that as a requirement in our recommendations, even if he doesn't have the survey at the time. You know, at the time we send this on to the county board, but at least I think we need to evaluate how we're going to do that. And
If you have it continued, can he get it surveyed in the meantime?
it would be nice if he could, but I'm not going
Put
to.
into the record.
I'm not going to, if he could, it would be great, but I'm not going to necessarily put him under the gun to recontinue it if the surveyor hasn't gotten out there or hasn't gotten back to him in time for the next meeting. So that's, I mean, but at least we can work that up as a recommendation in the finding of facts. But at this point,
is there any way that I could myself, I mean, I've got the 2 dimensions across the front and the back, go out and measure across and if you guys approve it tonight, bring it up back to D before the board comes in front of it, and it would show you where that 4 acres is at least.
I would like to see a condition, if approved, to have it surveyed, to put into record.
and that's fine, and I'm okay with that, but I'm just trying to, we're starting to get into some things now that I'm not sure how well I can speak off the top of my head to address these finding of facts or these conditions. I'd like to have an opportunity to, draft them and figure out how we're going to approach this.
Also, I mean, if you're going to require them to survey it off and as a condition, you're still not recommending a defined area to the county. So you can say, yes, he has to parcel off 4 acres, but not saying you would, but what if you didn't parcel off the area that you guys had in mind? So that's another reason you might want to see that survey up front and have that descend on to the county board so they know exactly what they're voting on.
Yeah. And that's
I
a
know it's
possibility, but I'm taking Mike at his word, and based on the layout of the at least, as long as that requirement for a survey is in there, and the D would then have to be aware of it, or would have to be, that would have to be provided to D if we're making it as a condition. I'm not too concerned about it having it on the front side. I think, Mike's intent is appropriate. It's just, we need to have something more tangible.
And I can't really go any bigger because the cricks.
Oh, no,
I can't
that's what I
push it back over in September. up by my house or,
Question is, this is a surveyed piece of property, and you have from here to
Yeah.
here. Someone
Measure
ought to
that.
be able to measure this. Come down there with a line.
Oh, yeah.
Be able to tell you
Oh, I agree,
without much problem.
Mike, are the,
but I don't.
the
want-
green lines, they property lines that are survey lines now?
I know.
The green one and the purple one?
the purple one is a township line and a property line. The red line off to the right is a property line. The green line in the back is a property line.
So were those surveyed at one time?
Yeah, I've actually had it surveyed 3 times in the last
Okay. So you just,
20 years.
basically, we need a line across the top and drawing down to 52 then.
Yeah, probably not
And then
even
the-
across the top, just from the,
Yeah,
If you follow his line down here,
Yeah.
it comes out almost to the corner.
yeah. Guess we need a measurement up there.
Right.
I just kind of took the open field because I figured I wasn't going to be using the timber. I mean, they ran some pigs in there at one time and there's some fences that are kind of down, but I'm not going to go back into the timber part beside the creek.
no, and that's fine. And that's what Bruce and Craig were just talking about is just bringing, since you've already got surveys on the
3
on the
sides.
on 3 of the sides, all you need to do is get a surveyor to bring the line down on that 4th side to,
So just take the whole thing then on that side, go with whatever's there. And it might be 5 acres, it might be,
yeah,
yeah, whatever it is.
yeah.
I could do that because Wilton Hoffman's done them all. And I would imagine that wouldn't be too hard of a job for them to come out because they just were out for the other property and marked all the pins. So some of those pins are less than 3 months old.
One's on the left-hand side.
Correct.
When you sold that other property.
Correct.
Yeah,
So those pins are already there, so.
Yeah.
They're all there up
Yeah.
along the highway. They're all there.
Right.
so we just need to get that 4th line and then know exactly what we've got, what we're approving. So that may actually, getting the survey may work best for everybody. Us and the board and,
And I don't think surveyors are very busy right now.
Slowed down quite a bit.
I don't know, everything I try to get, everybody seems to be busy or they don't have it. So
I know.
So are you recommending me going all the way to the timber then instead of?
I'm not making any recommendations. I'm just saying that might be the easiest way to, because then they've only got to bring down that one line.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
if you want to restrict it, and I'm not even saying you've got to put a fence across there once it's done, but just so that we know what area we're limiting for that 4 acres or 3.82 acres or that, 6.1 acres, whatever it happens to be.
And then you can still put whatever you want for hay back there.
Because if you don't use it, just because it's special use doesn't mean you can't utilize it for your own purpose.
Correct. Is there any way that we could go through everything tonight and me try to get the survey before the board meets? Or get some kind of a legal description? I mean, I might be able to get someone a little more educated than me to take the measurements and figure out. Probably any farmer could tell me how many rods it is or. And the only reason why I ask is last month it was delayed, and if we delay it another month and then it takes a month for them, I was just hoping to move along with this and.
No, I understand, and the problem that, that we had, I think you guys had COVID or something last month, or were you sick or?
No.
No, there was
That
some.
was-
That was the
issue.
other, that was the other one?
Yeah. You mean on this?
Yeah.
There was a lot of discussion.
Oh, yeah, okay, that was on the, yep, okay.
Craig, what are your thoughts?
Depends how detailed we want to get with the findings of fact. This, as far as, if we just want general statements or if we want to get more specific, or the recommendations, then we're getting into a bigger deal. I suppose maybe we should wait a month to do it. What's the,
Next question.
Nothing in February,
Nothing in February?
nothing in February.
You have any ideas? You've been here before.
Once or twice. Just looking at this, it makes sense to me if you just did the whole tillable area. Getting the delineation does seem to be an important point. I don't know if there's is there an easy way to like come up with our own delineation that would stand up?
that's a good question. I mean, if we had the footage, but no markers, other than like fence post or whatever.
Presently, the proffered opinion by the state's attorney's office was that it was enforceable if we had a legal description of the property, and absent that, I can't speak to it. So at present, where it stands is we would need a legal description of the parcel, so we know specifically what is being permitted for the special use.
Callie, did you get that as fast as she talked? I barely got it. Okay. As fast as she was talking, I just want to make sure.
Mike, the legal description you have now is for the entire 18
Correct.
Yeah.
acres.
When
So
we had it portioned off for the pumpkin patch, I think you guys, whatever, I'm not sure what the language was, but they just said this area. They didn't ask for a legal description or didn't ask for the size because it was kind of landlocked there. And they knew that I couldn't go any bigger than what the property I owned.
Allie?
It would be in my opinion that in order to find facts, you would need a legal description because you must operate under the assumption that the entire portion will be used for the special use permit. So you can't infer how it would have an impact or the number, quantity of things housed there without having that.
Sorry, Mike. Having heard that, I would make a motion that we continue this for the finding of facts until our next regularly scheduled zoning meeting.
In February. Because
Well, I wasn't going to include that. I include that in the motion. I guess that was kind of, I was assuming that maybe I shouldn't have made that assumption.
Well, when Dee and I had talked, I thought she had made the comment that if this passed, then I could go back and have it surveyed. Because instead of paying to have it surveyed and then have it denied,
Yeah.
I hate to change the legal description if I'm not using it for that cause.
And I understand that as well. I guess I'll rephrase that. I'm going to ask for a continuance of this until the next regularly scheduled meeting. in order for us to better define the findings of facts and to provide Mike the opportunity to get a delineation of the property to go under the special use. However, if he has not accomplished that at that time, I would consider having a condition of the approval that be provided to the zoning administrator prior to final approval.
That was your motion.
Yes, it was a long one, but that was the motion.
Who's got it? I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none. Would you read the motion back to us?
She needs a mic.
No, she's going to speak loudly.
I guess I'll rephrase that. I'm going to ask for a continuance of this until the next regularly scheduled meeting in order for us to better define the findings of fact and to provide Mike the opportunity to get a delineation of the property to go under the special use. However, if he has not accomplished that at that time, I would consider having a condition of the approval that be provided to the zoning administrator prior to final approval.
Good.
Sounds right.
And I'm going to ask, is that final approval when it goes to the county board? Or does it come back to us?
It's going to the zoning administrator. It's going to be a condition for the board and
For the board? Okay,
for the board and for Dee to have a copy of it.
okay. That was my only question on the way that was phrased. Okay. So I'm going to call the question. All in favor of Glenn's motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We are
Continuing this.
continuing
Again.
till the next regular meeting,
February 2nd.
February 2nd.
What is it you want me to bring back on February 2nd?
The description of the property to go under the special use, whether it's the 4 acres, the 6 acres, whichever you decide.
The surveyed property.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. You just want a description of it. You don't want me to do a legal description.
Well, I don't know how else you're going to do it. It would be preferable for a survey, but if you can get a way to come up with that legal description without a survey.
And figuring out. how
No,
many-
I meant the other way. I meant to change a legal description and change it. Because if Wilton Hoffman comes out and they pin it and change the legal description and you guys deny it, I'm going to be stuck with that legal description. So that's why I'm asking, can I have Wilton Hoffman come out and put a pin in one area and say this is total of 4.2 acres or whatever? Would that be a total?
At this point, I'd say that was reasonable because I've already intend to put in there, in case you couldn't get it done,
Yeah.
a condition that prior to final approval by Dee, you would have to provide her with that. So
And I think you got the indication from basically Glenn's testimony, mine, everybody's, that we don't have a problem if you use the whole property.
Okay.
Okay?
That was my mistake. I thought
No.
if you wanted to use the 4, that's fine,
If
but
you want to use 4, that's fine. If you want to, whatever the whole designated property that you have marked on here.
that'd be great.
We understand that you will turn around on your hay ground.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys very much for having us here tonight. We appreciate it.
Okay?
I'll try to get as much done as possible before the next time, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next month.
Okay, now,
Oh, those over there.
the next item on the agenda is the amendment to the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals Rules and Procedures. Everybody got that in front of them?
Oh, yeah, I got
I
one.
think that's yours.
I did. I was just looking.
I brought one. Oh, she's got more.
Oh, there's another copy right here.
Yeah, okay.
You want it?
You got one. Ally, you got one. Okay, let's go.
Technically, this is basically, it is what the county board does for their meeting.
Well, it's consistent with the Open Meetings Act.
Exactly.
And it's, right, but this is a consistent program of how the county board works. As far as attendance at meetings via Zoom, and when you can do that and when you can't, and how it works and whatever. Mike was up here on the board today, but according to the way the county board works is if somebody is away for work, they can attend a meeting and vote and do things.
Or illness.
What's that?
Or illness,
Or illness, or other
emergency.
emergencies. Mike has questioned this for a long time. And the part behind this is that all of a sudden, how many people would we have to have in the room to be able to have it, or basically get down to the point where everybody decides they're just going to come to the meeting as a Zoomer and not necessarily show up at the meeting. And however, the individual chairing them must be in the room. So I don't think I want to just come to a meeting and be the only one here.
No, but the main thing here, and this is consistent with the Open Meetings Act, is that it has to be personal illness or disability for employment purposes or businesses of the board or family or other emergency. So vacations don't work, and being out of town and not getting back in time doesn't work. You know, this is consistent with the Open Meetings Act. There's some things added in here relative to who has the authority to approve the technical malfunctions and the forced disconnections. But otherwise, I don't see any issue here, and I think those points are all valid.
And then I think the other part is, that is the reason that we have alternates.
Yep.
So, anyway, does anybody have any comments on this? Craig, do you have any?
I thought it sounded appropriate.
Okay. Do either of you have any objections to what this
No.
is?
No.
Okay.
I would make a motion then that we approve the amendment to the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals Rules and Procedures, Section 7, as it regards electronic attendance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other commentary? If none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
So I will have that at the next meeting added into your rules and procedures, so you'll all have a fresh copy.
Okay, thank you. The next thing on the agenda is we need a motion to recess until after the county board's vote on the above petitions on Thursday, January 19th, 2023, which is actually only petition 22-P-1594. And that would be the revocation of the motel.
I move. Prove that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Meeting is recessed, and the next regular scheduled meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals will be at 6 PM on Thursday, February the 2nd. However, we do have a scheduled meeting for,
Special meeting on the
Huh?
17th of January.
special meeting on the 17th to begin the petition on another,
Layman,
what's that?
layman's, isn't it?
Yes. So we shall go forward.
That's a Tuesday.
That's a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yes. And we know Mike is going to be gone for that meeting. And you will find out if Rex will be at that meeting and where we go from there. Good? We're done.
Okay.